So, it has been 2 years, a little over 2 years, since I made the jump to PC. Primarily in the past, I've been exclusive to console for the longest time. So, when I made the decision to jump to PC, there were quite a few reasons for it, but the most primary reason was I was sick and tired of console manufacturers controlling my gaming experience. I was sick of dealing with idiots online when I wanted to play a video game online and receiving hate mail from pieces of shit who were just sore losers and didn't want to showcase good sportsmanship. I was sick and tired of ridiculous and steep prices on digital storefronts like the PlayStation Store, for example. I was sick and tired of suspensions that were extremely harsh and very one-sided. I was sick and tired of having to hear my console's fans over and over again. So whenever I was playing a game, I would have to deal with this obnoxious sound consistently, just over and over again. Regardless of the game that I was playing, throughout the entire play session, I would have to put up with this obnoxious noise. So because I got sick of these things, I decided to go ahead and jump to PC. And since then, I have amassed a very large collection. Most of the games I've bought, I've already played before. A lot of these games that I'm scrolling through right now, I have already played. I have even rebought games that I didn't like and that I don't like, just in case I needed to use footage from them later, in a new video or something. Anything to keep me from going back to console. I don't hate console gaming, I just don't really support it anymore like how I used to. So now, if I had to choose between buying a game on PC versus buying the same game on console, every single time I will choose the PC version. PC gaming has really done a lot for me. It's actually made me enjoy video games more than the last few years that I've been playing consistently. I feel like I have more freedom and there's more options that's available to me as a consumer. Say if I'm interested in buying a game, especially if the game is new, I can go to another store. I can go to another storefront and purchase that game for an extreme discount and not have to pay all of these ridiculous prices. I can now enjoy video games more freely than I was able to before. I can use whatever controller that I want to play any game. If it's a Xbox or a PC exclusive, I can use a DualShock. I can use a DualShock controller instead of an Xbox controller. That's one example. I can play games through my TV and not have to put up with being restricted to a small 15-inch panel. Now, after having switched to PC almost full-time, practically full-time, it hasn't alleviated most of my major concerns with gaming, but it has certainly at least helped to alleviate some of my concerns. And obviously that's because of the sharp, steep discounts across all these major storefronts, be it Steam or Fanatical, GOG, So being on PC has definitely has been a positive experience. Now, there are some downsides to PC gaming as well. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that PC gaming is just perfect and there's absolutely nothing wrong with it, because there is. Although, the issues with playing video games on PC really, most of it comes from your specific setup, your machine. It really doesn't have anything to do with the games themselves, because your experience is really going to be based off of what kind of setup you have, what kind of graphics card you have, what kind of processor you have, you know, that sort of thing. How much you actually know about what you can do to make PC gaming comfortable for you. I have had a lot of people ask me, well, why don't you just get a desktop? Because, you know, you can customize the components. Well, a desktop can't go anywhere. I can't take a desktop and go anywhere with it. I haven't actually had a desktop since 2013. I'm not really interested in getting a desktop. I'd rather stick with a dedicated laptop by comparison, just for the small form factor alone. So, you know, that's one thing that I've been asked about my experience with PC gaming. Another thing is, yeah, you do have to, you know, set certain graphical settings, but there isn't a single game that I've purchased that I haven't been able to play. There isn't a single game that I've tried to run on my laptop that I haven't been able to get to run smoothly. Not a single one, and I've played some very big games up on here. Assassin's Creed Odyssey right here, for example, this is the biggest game that I have. Well, this and The Witcher 3. And I didn't have any issues when I tried to run that game. Not one. Some of the more recent games that I bought, like Deathloop, for example, or Halo Infinite, or Guardians of the Galaxy. I didn't have really any issues running those games. So my experience hasn't really been any different than what I got on console. The only difference is I'm now free from the console manufacturers, and they can't tell me what to do with my experience. I can't be suspended because I had a bad interaction with someone playing an online game. I can't be suspended because I tried to get a refund on a game on like Steam or something like that, which is definitely the case on PlayStation. You know, achievements and trophies and whatnot, that's still a thing on PC as well. In fact, several of the storefronts have their own achievement or trophy system. You know, the Epic Games Store has theirs. It's not very good, but they have their own. GOG, I believe, has their own as well. And of course, Steam has Steam achievements. So it's literally the exact same experience as to what you find on console. So 2 years later, after, you know, looking back in retrospect, I feel that I made the right decision to jump the PC. And another thing is, I'm glad I haven't bought a physical edition of a video game in over a year. I was already running out of space on my bookshelf, and just seeing the collection that I've amassed, I mean, you know, there are certain games where I'm glad that I bought it physically because of, you know, special packaging. There's something that came with the game that I'm glad that I own now. But for the most part, companies stopped really putting in the effort with physical editions to games well before the 8th generation. The tail end of the 7th generation, they stopped putting in like the instruction manuals and all that. Even the artwork got lazy, like on the back of the case. So now it's not even special to own the game physically anymore. The only time that you really get anything special is if you spend money on like a collector's edition or whatever. And collector's editions, which I've gone over on my channel in the past, are not worth it. The last collector's edition that I bought, which was for The Last of Us Part 2, the actual statue that came with that game is great, but the game itself wasn't great. In fact, the game itself was shit. So that's reinforced my mindset that, you know, it doesn't really bother me that most of the games that I own at this point are digital, completely digital. It doesn't bother me at all, because the important thing is, can you play the game? Yeah, I can play the game. I can play the game without any issues. So I don't need like a physical case with artwork and all that. It's made things a lot more enjoyable. That I can just go on my laptop, go to a game, hit the play button, and the game just launches. And about the only other issue that I've had with PC gaming is that not every game has adequate controller support. Even though I game on PC, I could use a keyboard for, quite a few of the games or whatever, but then I'd be destroying my laptop keyboard, or I would have to get like an external keyboard or something like that. I have an external keyboard, but it wasn't made for gaming. I prefer to play video games with a controller. So not every game has adequate controller support, although most games these days do. In fact, most games these days has full controller support, so you can use whatever controller you want. Especially if it's like a recent controller, like a DualShock 4, DualSense, one of the Xbox controllers. All in all, PC gaming has definitely worked out for me. And I don't see myself turning back to console at this point. I don't see myself going back. There's no benefit really, outside of, certain exclusives here and there, which is not a common thing. Console exclusives have gotten worse. They haven't gotten better. Hell, these days, a lot of the exclusives are now being released to PC anyway. So in that sense, there's really no point anymore. In the last year, I could have bought a PS5, at several points I could have bought a PS5. I could have bought a PS5 back in August, but I chose not to because I didn't see the point, for one, and for two, I'm not paying any more than what the system is actually worth. Like I said, PC gaming has been a very positive experience. It hasn't fixed the majority of the issues that I have with gaming as a whole, but it's certainly helped.